貴様の拳などかほどにも効かんわい。
お前はもう死んでいる。
何？そうは匠できれぶ。
Hello everybody, welcome back to the YS channel. Today we're going to just do a short review on the 1986 cult classic anime movie, Fist of the North Star. For those of you unfamiliar with the story of the franchise, it's based off a manga of the same name and a long-running anime series. So this movie is essentially like a retelling of like the first like major arcs of the anime and manga. However, a lot of the events are reordered. Some of the characters are changed up, which is kind of a trend with the shonen anime movies of the time. Basically, they're just retellings of like the anime like TV show, but you get like a higher production effort, and it is kind of like a bridge version of things. This is no different. However, if you compare this movie to the actual TV show anime, you'll see like the big difference in quality of animation and everything. But anyhow, well, most of the major characters are still the same. You got Kenshiro, who at the start of the movie, he's essentially just fucking assaulted by a friend of his named Shin, you know, and left for dead. And then he stabs him in the chest with his fingers, creating like the Big Dipper fist, or the Big Dipper, you know, constellation, which contains the North Star. And does like a giant fuck you to him. And then leaves him for dead, and then eventually he's revived and kind of seeks vengeance because he steals this girl and he wants her back. And then of course he confronts his primary other rival, Rao, who is part of the same martial arts school that Kenshiro was from, which is known as Hokoto no Ken, which is again North Dipper Fist, which is just like a deadly martial art, like assassination technique. And then basically, as far as the lore of the story goes, it's a martial art that teaches you to like extract the vital points. It's an assassination like martial art. And basically you extract these pressure points and your body will twist, contort, and explode in grotesque and funny ways. And that's like the hallmark of the show, and the manga and the anime. And then Kenshiro is essentially the master of it. And then all his other rivals, other various variations of what they call the Big Dipper Fist. So you have like North Star, South Star, and each one has its own deadly style. You know, he'll encounter another martial artist named Ray, who starts off as a rival and eventually becomes a friend. And he does this shit where he does his slicing thing and cuts you to pieces. You know, it's again essentially each one of these people has their own deadly fucking martial art, right? However, with the Hokoto no Ken, again, it teaches you to strike the pressure points and it makes you blow up or do goofy things. So, again, this movie takes place in a post-apocalyptic like wasteland, kind of like the Mad Max movies. A lot of the thematics is similar. You know, you get all these goons and warlords trying to, you know, fight each other for control of the wastelands and all that kind of shit. And then Kenshiro, again, after he's revived or whatever, you know, he definitely goes out of his way to put a stop to these people. Especially like when he encounters them like one-on-one and all that. You know, and essentially one thing will lead to another here. Where he'll encounter his rivals and, you know, he'll put a stop to them. Especially Rao, which in the movie they have a final confrontation, which Kenshiro actually loses the fight in the movie. However, how would you say? He loses the movie. He doesn't die again. The movie is how would you say? It's a retelling of events from the first few arcs of the show. But he does end up killing his rival that leaves him for dead, Shin, who is a master of the Hokoto Shinken. Or I'm sorry, the Nanto Saiken. I'm sorry, which stands for like self dipper fist, and then it has its own variations, which his friend Ray is a master of, and then there's another guy which don't feature in the movie, who was like the overall master of that one. So why is this movie kind of like considered the granddaddy of all these movies? Is again the action and the violence and the gore is very well detailed and animated. Yeah, and then, for a lot of people, including myself, this is a gateway to the more mature anime franchises out there. In the previous review, I was discussing like Vampire Hunter D. And this movie again was never one of those that was imported like in the late '80s and early '90s. It was shown on cable, and you watch this for the first time, you're like, holy fuck, like what the fuck is going on here? It's unlike anything you would seen at that time. Which I mean is in a good way. Because it's over the top and it's cool. And it just stands out. And then that's essentially this movie. Now, the movie itself, from a narrative standpoint, again, since it's just a retelling of the first few arcs, kind of falls flat to an extent, especially with the final confrontation. Because if you follow the story all the way through, like of the anime and manga, there's a more resounding conclusion to the arc involving Rao and Kenshiro. However, this movie, you don't get that. But you get to see all the rather cool shit. He destroys Shin. He's got another brother, from the north, who trained in the same school as he did, and ended up becoming a rival. He fucking wastes his stupid goofy ass with the fucking weird face, great thing, and all that. And even the fight with Rao was bloody and gory, but what more can you say about this movie? It just, like when you watch him poke people and his blood just shoots out like a geyser, it just captivates you. So, not much more to say. I mean, I don't want to give spoilers, but the movie's almost 30, 40 something years old at this point. It's, if you haven't seen it, it does contain probably one of the most manliest fucking intimidation scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Where this is pretty much when Kenshiro was revived after being left for dead. And he's like covered like in stone or like rock or whatever. And he's just walking. He's marching towards like the city that's being overrun by these goons because this girl like telepathically calls for help. And like he's actually intentionally knocking buildings down using his Hokoto no Ken, North Star fucking dipper fist, whatever. Knock these buildings on top of himself, and as they're falling on him, he's walking through it. And he's just cutting through this shit. These goons are just like, oh my god, fuck we do now? There's nothing you can do. They even start shooting at him, and like he's catching the shit, and like you just watch this guy knock a building on his head, and he just walks through it like a hot knife through butter. And you're gonna try to assault the guy? Good luck. But other than that, not much more else to say. If you've seen the arcs, like you've seen the complete anime, you read the manga, the movie doesn't do that much different, other than it gives it a more vivid animation style than what you've seen before. If you haven't seen the movie, I would probably tell you maybe start off the franchise with this movie. Just if you want kind of like an abridged, like just telling of the first few arcs of the story. Other than that, if you're a fan of the manga or you don't like the movie, that's also acceptable. To each their own. And then if you like this review and our other reviews, drop a like, subscribe, follow our channel. Greatly appreciate it. Until the next one. Later.